WVEC-TV, Hampton.
And here we go.
This is Jim Kincaid, ABC News.
With Operation Allied Force into its fifth week now, sailors and Marines aboard the Norfolk-based USS Nassau went about their business today 15 miles off the Albanian coast, looking forward to finally heading home. 4 Marine Corps Harrier jump jets launched this day, each one carrying 4 500-pound bombs. When they returned from sorties over Serb targets 2.5 hours later, all but one of those bombs were gone. It was a good day, one pilot who asked that we not use his name told me afterwards. He said that after weeks of bad weather, today was relatively clear, allowing enough visibility for the aviators to see what they're striking and to go for it. The Nassau is an amphibious assault ship, meaning its primary job is to transport its 2,000 Marines anywhere they're needed. As things work out, another amphib, the USS Incheon, is handling humanitarian relief, meaning in large measure there's not much for the Nassau Marines other than the Harrier pilots to do. Still, spirits remain upbeat as Marine officer in charge, Colonel Richard Tyron, said his people stand ready to do anything they're asked. It appears, though, they might now not be asked to do much more than simply to come home. The Norfolk-based USS Kearsarge is due to arrive in the Adriatic to replace Nassau perhaps as soon as this weekend, meaning, as one senior naval officer told us not for attribution today, the Nassau could just make it back home on time May 13th after all. Mike Gooding, 13 News in the Adriatic Sea. Theodore Roosevelt Air Wing pilots finally got the break they were looking for with the weather. With relatively unlimited visibility for once, it appeared to be a good morning for launching combat strikes from today's position near the Ionian Sea. Unlike yesterday, when the clouds were dense enough to scrub the actual sorties, leaving training as the day's only option, Tuesday was a go. By early morning, the aircraft carrier's deck was alive with activity as the handlers loaded up live bombs and missiles on the jet's wings. It's one of the big complaints the aviators are voicing, that this campaign seems to be moving at a snail's pace because they've been so hindered by poor atmospheric conditions. Still, a NATO warplane struck Slobodan Milosevic's ruling party headquarters today, and an unconfirmed report from the Serbian media claimed that 25 NATO missiles bombarded Pristina for more than 3 hours. So are they making a difference? The ship's crew certainly seems to think so. E2 Garrett Nichols told us that people who can't defend themselves need somebody to look after them. And Command Master Chief Mark Williams said that with enough time and some decent weather, the air war will make progress. Said Williams, we're getting their attention, that's for sure. Mike Gooding, 13 News, Bari, Italy.
The flight deck of a U.S. Navy ship is a busy place these days. With 2,000 pounds worth of bombs in tow, Marine Harrier jump jets blast off the Adriatic Sea and head for the Balkans. Their takeoff and landing platform, the amphibious assault ship USS Nassau, sits just 15 miles off the coast of Albania. It's been non-stop, grueling work since this war began.
Are you going to bring them in now?
Yes, sir. Looking to get them in here in about 5 minutes or so. I got to check their fuel load.
High above the deck, Air Boss Tim Alexander makes sure everything goes smoothly despite the frantic pace.
Yeah, it's been pretty busy. We've been launching a lot of airplanes, fixed wing and rotary wing, and keeping busy. Guys are doing all right.
This day, all 4 Harriers returned safely with 15 of 16 bombs deployed. The pilots say despite less than ideal conditions, they're making progress containing Yugoslavian President Slobodan Milosevic's forces.
I believe so. It's been slow with the weather, but we're getting bombs on target, and there's no doubt that his effort has been hampered.
This is about the international community looking upon a situation in the former Republic of Yugoslavia that bears great scrutiny.
I really don't feel. I feel that we have to do what we have to do because what's going on right now really is insane, and I feel we're doing the right thing.
They're counting the days and hours now, literally here aboard the Nassau, awaiting the arrival of their relief, the USS Kearsarge, which should get here in just a couple of more days. But until then, there's still a job to do with Operation Allied Force, and they'll do it, and then go home. Mike Gooding, 13 News in the Adriatic Sea.
As if Albania wasn't having enough problems already handling the deluge of refugees, another 1,800 to 2,000 crossed the border at Kukës last night. Today, another problem. The NATO humanitarian relief effort came to a complete halt this afternoon. At the air base near Tirana, a bomb-sniffing dog alerted officials to what was thought to be a possible explosive device. For 5 hours, all flights were shut down. Base spokesman Air Force Major Tom Dolney said later it was unclear what, if anything, the dog smelled, but by early evening, helicopter flights had resumed. Lieutenant Randy Stoker flies H-53 helicopters for the Norfolk-based Squadron HM-14. He told us today he believes the work the Navy, the other branches of the service, and the NATO allies are doing here is important, and he's just glad to be here doing his part. Chief Warrant Officer Whiskey Eagle, whose family lives in Hampton Roads and who served there himself for more than a dozen years before being transferred to Corpus Christi, Texas, put it more succinctly. He told us once you put on the uniform, it's your obligation to do whatever your nation asks, and he says it's an honor just to be here. Mike Gooding, 13 News, Tirana, Albania.
Mike, do you get a sense that our military planners anticipated this severe refugee problem when the bombing started?
I don't think so, because I can tell you that the airfield here that's being used as the base of operations for the humanitarian relief 3 weeks ago was nothing but a big mud field. They've been flying in civilian contractors from Houston, from a company called Brown and Root, to actually help set up this base. And we saw some Italian and German soldiers today with heavy machinery and backhoes and cranes and so forth, trying to get the infrastructure of this base together. But I can tell you it's still not together. But I would just guess that it would probably take another month or two before they'd have this base anywhere even close to the specifications that most U.S. Army soldiers would expect.
At least these children were trying to be enterprising. Most you see out on the streets of Tirana simply stick out their hands and beg. Yet this former communist satellite is the place the vast majority of Kosovars displaced by war are heading. This man just arrived with his girlfriend and his brother's daughter.
We're not politicians. We don't understand this high politician. I don't understand how can all the 19 states of the best states in the world cannot beat one very small state.
He says he doesn't know how much longer he can survive on the streets.
It has 5 days that my family haven't eaten anything. I have to find some friends here, and myself, nobody helps me. Nobody.
Downtown Tirana certainly appears to be bustling and prosperous enough, yet you don't have to get too many kilometers outside the city to see the squalor and poverty the majority of Albanians live in, raising the question if any country could ill afford to be taking in all these refugees. Is it this one? With more than 4 million people crammed into a land about the size of the state of Maryland, Albania is Europe's poorest country. There seems to be no visible signs of wealth or prosperity, and terrain that makes it difficult for NATO forces to lend a hand.
It's a big challenge.
Air Force Major Tom Donnelly says the military's refugee relief program, Operation Shining Hope, is doing the best it can.
The roads are pretty rough shape in places, and that makes it tough going for some of the trucks. And when we fly with the helicopters, we go through the mountains to reach some of the camps, and that's pretty treacherous flying.
Still, back on the streets, there remains hope that whatever happens, happens fast. Do you want to go back to Kosovo?
I'll go back to Kosovo, but I want to go in Kosovo, in that Kosovo that I imagine it, not in this Kosovo.
They pass the hours and days away waiting, hoping their circumstances change. But for now, this and places like it are home for Kosovo refugees who fled to Albania. They listen for news about the war and hope the end is soon. For some, time is not on their side. The day's highlights come at mealtime. This day, it's some kind of soup. And for everyone here, there's a story to be told of the brutality and the horror of their final days in their homeland.
Before I left, a day before we escaped, they burned our street. A house before mine was burning.
The UN estimates more than 600,000 people have left Kosovo in the weeks since the war began, some 400,000 of them here to Albania. And where they end up are refugee camps like this one near Durrës. Run by the Italian government, it's believed to be one of the best in all of Albania. Neat, orderly, well-run, the camp still has its hands full with such everyday problems as what to do with the daily trash from its thousands of inhabitants. And for this man and his family, there was no room, so they pitched a lean-to outside the camp's walls and make do. Fatmir Bekali was a college student, Safet Zafagi a singer. They say they're thankful for the camp, but they don't know how long they can last here.
Some say 2 months, some say 6 months. Some say a year, I don't know.
In the camp it's good, for now. But if the rain or something else, listen, here we have a life only for 1 month too. We can stay forever.
But for now, stay here they must, because they have nowhere else to go, except in their minds. They go home, to Kosovo.
We have everything there, a home, a good car, a money, everything. But Serbs destroy everything. What can we do?
Nothing except wait. Mike Gooding, 13 News, Durrës, Albania. It's a lot of work getting the Renus Air Base in Albania ready for 500 or more NATO personnel to call their home away from home, to set up a tent city that one soldier has dubbed Island Harbor Oasis.
The Air Force and the Army have done a great job of bringing in all their engineers and getting it somewhat livable. Yeah.
3 or 4 weeks ago, the Tirana airport here wasn't much more than an abandoned old asphalt runway and a whole lot of mud. Now it's home to all 4 branches of the service plus several NATO countries, serving essentially as the Allies' land-based headquarters for Kosovo refugee relief. Operation Shining Hope, they call it. Every day they load up the helicopters with food and medical supplies and head for the hills, literally looking for Kosovo refugee camps like this one in Kukës. They go to the places where the help is needed the most. Lieutenant Randy Stoker of Norfolk-based Squadron HM-14 flies the Navy H-53s that provide the relief.
What we've seen is initially when we first came out, a lot of the people really desperate to get the stuff that we had on board. We had a lot of people in and around the tail rotor and trying to get on the helicopter, not really getting on the helicopter, but trying to get to the stuff we had on board.
When they're not doing humanitarian relief, they while away the hours as best as they can and find contentment in doing some good in this world.
We're just here. We want to help them out as best we can and keep them fed, keep them sheltered, and things like that.
Mike Gooding, 13 News, Renus Air Base, Albania.